Whakamau o ka nohi ki runga i a rangi toto. Tahuri ake koe te moana ki wai te mata. Ka i tō waka ki o rā kei iri ora o rā kei matataniwha. Takahia e koe te one ki o kahu. Rere tiko tō haere ki te tai o te uru ko maunga kia tu no ana. Tū ke monga whau te taha whakararo. Ka heke ka piki ki runga no i te matua tēnā whenua. Ko waipapa te marae. Ko waipapa te tauranga waka. Ko waipapa taumatarau. Ka piki anō ki te ro ngā whenua ara te pai maungo rangi puke. E whātare mai nei ki a mātou. Ko ngā wai o horutu te marae. Ko ngā wai o horutu te awa. E rere nei, e tere tonu nei. Nei rā mātou, e noho nei, i raro i te tuanui, o tēnei o ngā whare ara ko te pūrengi, e whātolo toro ana, ngā ringa mana hau, mata kui pōwhiri ki tēnā o koutou, e kia nei te kōrero nau mai, haere mai, whakatau mai rā. Haere mai rā ki runga no i tēnei whenua, o tira me te mana whenua o Ngāti Whātua rākei. Haere mai rā ki runga no i tēnei whare wānanga, arā, ko te wānanga aronui o tāmai ki Makaurau, AUT, e mihi nei, e tangi nei ki a koutou katoa. Nō reira aha ko kowai, aha ko nohia, e tātou mā, piki mai, kake mai, nau mai, haere mai, tēnā koutou, nei rā mātou ka mihi, tēnā koutou katoa.
Hello everyone, I'm Lakshita, part of a local organizing committee here and a part of IEEE New Zealand North section. I'm so excited and delighted to have all of you here with us. I'll be your MC for this session. Before moving on to the opening session, I would like to translate Mihi, which you just heard. The Maori narrative acknowledges all the mountains, rivers, oceans, lakes of whom the guests represent into the virtual space, so they may coalesce at the significant landmarks located here in Tamaki Makaurau, our mountain, Tiipuo Matau, our ocean, the Waitemata, our river, the Nagawai Horatio. We also acknowledge those of our loved ones of who have paved the path forward to where we find ourselves today, but are no longer with us. We pay homage and remember them at this time. Now we turn our focus to the purpose of this gathering and acknowledge all that are attending, because no matter how big or small we are, the sum of the whole. Now I'd like to highlight a few points. If you would like to know more about our speakers, their bios are mentioned on the handbook. It's available on our website, TENCON21.com. If you'd like to ask any questions, you can drop your questions on the WOA platform and we'll pick it up from there. These sessions are also live streamed. You can go and find our YouTube links on the website. For the opening sessions, we have with us Dr. Nunmanaya, Journal Chair, IEEE Region 10, Deepak Mathur, and Dr. Tekli, Journal Co-Chair of 2021, TENCON 2021. And I would like to invite Dr. Naya to give opening remarks. Dr. Naya, over to you.
Thanks, Lakshita. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. There's no good night, I believe, but there might be someone streaming you don't know from Europe or the other parts of the world. But welcome on behalf of the 33rd IEEE Region 10 International Conference, TENCON 2021 Organizing Committee. It's my great privilege and pleasure to invite all of you to this and give a warm, what we call as kiwi. We are from New Zealand, so you might have heard the waiata, which sets the tone for any conference or any meeting which we have. So it is a safe, welcoming space for people to share ideas, to talk a little bit about the tone of this conference and things like that. As we speak, many of the attendees for this conference through the conference platform are from 20 plus countries across the globe, and they represent various lifelong learning stages like student, young professional, women in engineering, research professors, innovators, and professionals. A taste of this for some of you who might have joined yesterday. It was a Region 10 workshop, and you might have seen the stream from Asia Pacific and the strong leadership which accompanies that. So that set the tone for today, which is the official opening of the conference. This conference has been in the making for about 2 years now. So in 2019, there was a call for proposals from countries to host this. And IEEE New Zealand North section, which is hosting it, was one of the original countries to form Region 10 in 1968. So there'll be a brief history of this, which Deepak will share later on. But since then, it has been almost close to 50 years now, right? 54, in fact. And we have never hosted a TENCON conference here. We have hosted many other conferences, deep dive, but we've never hosted TENCON. So we did that, and we chose this particular year to host. There was a reason for it as well. In 2019, New Zealand was hosting the APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Forum. We are the host for this year. And this was supposed to be the final one because we are hosting everything else, and so on and so forth. But things changed dramatically, as you know, 2 years. So, we still wanted to go into a blended format because New Zealand was open up till August of this year. And with the new brand of this virus, which we called as Delta, we had to take a decision to close off Auckland, where most of our volunteers are. And that's why in September, we flipped and we went fully online. Until then, it was supposed to be blended. And we took the decision, and that's where we are here today. So I also take this opportunity to thank very strongly the Auckland Convention Bureau, who put together right from 2 years ago to put this bid and to do those things as we made our way through. Also, I would like to thank the other IEEE entities. 50 years ago, we just had one, IEEE New Zealand. Today, we have 4 entities, IEEE New Zealand North, based centrally in Auckland and its surrounding areas, IEEE New Zealand South, which is based in Christchurch, centered around it, looking at the whole of South Island, and IEEE Central, which is Wellington and regions south of Waikato, which is in the bottom half, in the middle half of the North Island. So this program, and also we have a council as well, so IEEE New Zealand Council, so it's some of us there. So this is a joint effort on all of our part to give this program, with IEEE New Zealand North taking a leadership role to kind of deliver this. Moving on, this is the second time after TENCON 2020, which was to be held in Japan, Osaka, where we are holding this conference in a pandemic format, in a global pandemic friendly situation where it is fully online, right? So, so hopefully next year, and you should come to watch the closing session where we have the section which started TENCON in 1980, Hong Kong, going to again host it in 2022 next year. So I won't steal Paulina's thunder, but you might have heard Paulina Chan yesterday in one of the panels. So, but she hopefully she will join it during the closing session and give her thoughts. And that would be great feedback at that time, where we can share ideas of how this conference went through and share some learnings with her. Hopefully, we may take some good lessons from this, but also go back to our normal formatting as we do. For us as electrical and electronics engineers, we are using the technologies which we have discovered, delivered, given to the world for the past 50 years. So there's nothing new in this thing. But this conference is not about the past 50 years. This is about the next 30 years. So this is about future technologies. So we have heard a shade of that yesterday, we are really now talking about 6G, we're talking about future platforms. This whole conference has been themed around future technologies. And we did not know when we hosted in 2019, we would come to this stage, but well, we are here. So now we have to deliver. And at this point of time, we have to be visible. Sometimes IEEE is supposed to be invisible. Electrons are invisible, but that's fine. We were in a world where we were doing vertical technologies. Now we are going, platform technologies, and all the platform, electricity, computers, software, and all those things are there. But to get a sense of standardization and scale up, you can look at IEEE future directions, and that's how we have scoped our theme, which is smarter, cleaner, secure, and resilient living. Okay, so so that's part, and the program that does convey most of those things as we speak. So we really hope that the 4-day and night online program, so I call it as day and night, is just because for New Zealand, yesterday and today is day and night. Tomorrow it's day for us, and for some other people it might be midnight. So we have tried to make it as friendly as possible. Even though the theme, we had 10 kind of themes, we got all the 10 kind of future direction theme in the call for proposals. But when we scheduled it, we made it friendlier so that everyone can pitch, and also the audio, video, and things like that needs to be managed. So hopefully the authors gets their 8 minutes of recorded fame, but please make sure that you come for the question and answer and do your 2-minute part pitch there. But also we have used this new platform, conferencing platform, make friends, jump across rooms, try to enjoy the experience, because that's what IEEE is about. It's about networking, knowing the best in the world of your peers, and hopefully you would try to do that. I'll take 1 more minute to thank a few people before I would want to invite Deepak Ji for his keynote. So in particular, we would like to thank Region 10 for their approval to host TENCON 2021 by IEEE New Zealand North Section 2 years ago. Hopefully we might have delivered the expectation of industry, academia, research balance expected of this conference. I would also like to thank a big namihi to our IEEE New Zealand North members. All of us are volunteers. We are not paid for doing this job, but we love to offer that. And we have New Zealand leaders, regular senior members, student members, and hopefully you would see some of the local program which will capture that. We have some fantastic workshops on Friday on future architecture of networks on the electricity side, on future grid side, and also a robotic and a very interesting robotic workshop which covers even high school students, university students, and also Region 10 competition around COVID-19 robots. Some fantastic presentations, and those 2 sessions will be streamed as well, by the way. Also, I would like to thank all the groups which are represented here, breadth of New Zealand researchers, academics, technologists, practicing engineers, and science leader. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I thank you for your participation. Without audience, all this wouldn't go. So I think we are trying to reach out to as many as you possible, but also to keep this brand of TENCON, really nice and kicking. And if we have quite a lot of non-IEEE members joining this conference, we saw that. So first of all, try to check out all the various varieties we do. In a nutshell, if I want to talk about what IEEE is, it's about people, technology, skills, skill development, and personal networking and impact. If you want to see the impact and standardization, you should be part of IEEE, because they set the global standards across the world for all these technologies as we scale through. So you can make the world a much more smarter, cleaner, secure, and resilient place for living. So with that closing note, I will close my remark, and I would now invite upon Deepak Mathurji, our IEEE Region 10 Director, to open this session, and over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Nirmal. You presented very nice insight on TENCON 2021. Thank you very much, and thank you, New Zealand North Section, for taking lead and organizing this. So, distinguished committee members of TENCON 2021, my IEEE colleagues, dear participants of TENCON 2021, and all those who are joining the conference online, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. I'm sure you are having great sessions in TENCON, and I'm really honored, and it's my great pleasure that I'm taking part in TENCON today, which I'm joining online from India. And thank you very much, organizing committee, for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to speak on this opening and plenary session. So first of all, I would like to congratulate conference chair, conference co-chair, and all committee members of this TENCON for their efforts, hard work, and dedication in organizing this conference, despite having difficulties and uncertainties because of ongoing pandemic. So you all deserve great appreciation. So thank you very much. I wish TENCON 2021 a grand success. And today I'll be presenting an overview of Region 10, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity given to me. I will be assisted in running my slides. Thank you very much. If you can move to the next slide. Yeah, so my presentation will cover a bit about my background, then Region 10 history, its organizational structure, and what we have planned or what we had planned for 2021 and 2022, and some important ongoing initiative. Next slide, please. So I come from industry and have worked in India's premier oil sector in various engineering and managerial positions for more than 37 years, and worked on several projects on electronics, telecommunications, IT, and I was also working on high-tech oil well logging system, which was to explore the possibility of presence of hydrocarbon in subsurface. Next slide, please. So this is my volunteering experience. I started with an ExCom member of a small section, that is Gujarat section in India, and served as the chair of this section in 2006 and 7. I also served as chair of India Council in 2015-16. I got opportunity to serve in Region 10 ExCom in 2009 and also served as vice chair of membership activities. Currently, I am serving as director of Region 10, and that is for 21 and 22. And I'm really grateful to each one of you for electing me to this position. Thank you very much. And also, I had also opportunity to serve in various committees in IEEE, MGA, and SITE. And I'm a member of SSIT, where I served as in the board of governors. And I am also a member of Industry Application Society, Signal Processing Society, and IEEE Honor Society, Itakapado. Next slide, please. So let me share with you the history of Region 10. So after formation of IEEE in 1963, by the merger of two great technical societies, these societies were American Institute of Electrical Engineers and Institute of Radio Engineers. So after the merger of these two in 1963, and the birth of IEEE was there, a new Region 8 was formed comprising of Europe, Middle East, and North Africa. The rest of the world was Region 9 till 1966. So in 1967, Region 9 was limited to South America, and the rest of the world became Region 10. And in 1981, there was a major shift. Southern Africa was transferred from Region 10 to Region 8, and what we see today, Region 10, which is Asia Pacific region, was established in 1981. So this is the history of Region 10. Next slide, please. So this is the existing map of Region 10. We cover very large area. We have Afghanistan in the west, Mongolia in the north, Japan and Fiji in the east, and in south we have Australia and New Zealand. So there are 6 councils in Region 10: Korea, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, China, and India. Next slide, please. So today, Region 10 is the region with the highest number of sections and subsections in IEEE. Very recently, we have elevated one subsection to a section and established 3 more subsections. And more than 70% of our sections have young professional affinity groups, and 80% of our sections have WI affinity groups. And our endeavor is to form YP and WI in each and every section of Region 10, and our respective committee chairs are working on that. And we have good number of student branches, student branch chapters, and student branch affinity groups, and our endeavor is to make them more active, bring more benefits for the growth of our student members. Next slide, please. So we are largest, diverse, and fast-growing region, and many of our subsections have potential to grow further and may be elevated to full section in coming years. Next slide, please. So this is Region 10 ExCom for 21 and 22. Our ExCom is consisting of 17 committees. We have constituted Conference Quality Management Committee as a separate committee this year to give emphasis on quality of conferences in Region 10. And we are running many training workshops to educate more volunteers from sections in Region 10. Next slide, please. These are members of our Region 10 ExCom. Region 10 ExCom is very diversified. We try to keep it as diverse as possible. We have included good number of women volunteer leaders in this XCOM, perhaps highest ever in number. We are fortunate to have past President Professor Toshio Fukda and past VPMGA Kuk Jin Chun in our Region 10 XCOM as advisory committee member. All our XCOM members are very talented, dedicated, and committed volunteers. With diversity, we not only bring diversity of region, or diversity of gender, or diversity of profession, we also bring diversity of ideas, diversity of thoughts, and share diversity of best practices. So I'm really proud of our diverse XCOM committee of Region 10. Next slide, please. So this is our new initiative. We wanted to create opportunities for more volunteers at region level, and we introduced structured subcommittees under Region 10 committees. Around 150 volunteers are serving in these subcommittees of Region 10. I encourage that more volunteers to join Region 10 subcommittees. Volunteers who have worked and contributed in significant volunteer roles in their respective sections are encouraged. We can still give chance to volunteers in our subcommittees, and one should make use of this golden opportunity. In fact, these are our volunteers or volunteer leaders of tomorrow. Next slide, please. So we organize 2 meetings every year. Region 10 XCOM is basically for planning and strategy, and we had this meeting in virtual mode this year due to the ongoing pandemic. And Region 10 annual general meeting is for section leadership and organized annually. And for last 2 years, it was held in virtual mode. We were very hopeful of organizing these meetings in physical format in 2022, but it looks difficult due to the recent news of the new variant of COVID-19. Health and safety of our members and volunteers are our prime concern, and we would be having Region 10 XCOM in virtual mode in 2022 also. Next slide, please. These are 4 flagship events of Region 10. TENCIM, TENCON, and Region 10 HTC are annual conferences, whereas SYWL, which is Student, Young Professional, Women in Engineering and Life Members Congress, this is done in once in 2 years. And all these events were held in virtual mode in 2020. But I'm happy to see that we had 2 of our conferences in hybrid mode. TENCIM was held at Jeju, and Art and HTC was held in Bangalore, both in hybrid mode. TENCON, as Nirmal explained, was also planned to be held in the hybrid mode, but keeping safety in the mind, safety of our members and volunteers in mind, we are doing this in virtual mode, and that is a very good decision of the committee. And I'm sure this will be a grand success, and efforts of all volunteers involved must be applauded. Hopefully, all conferences of SYW and SYWL Congress, which will be held in 2022, shall be in full in-person event. That I wish it should be like that. Next slide, please. So these are the thrust areas where we would be focusing, or where we are focusing in 2021 and 2022. These are the directions of Region 10 committees, or these are the directions for Region 10 committees. And we have decided these after lots of discussion, good brainstorming, and deliberation in our OPCOM. And for membership activities, our focus is member retention and continuation of students to young professionals. And our focus area for technical activities are section chapter collaborative programs, conference quality, and industry engagements. And we are focusing in professional activities on entrepreneurship and career advancement programs. So I advise we should also have such focus in our sections and subsections, because I strongly believe that direction is very important. Next slide, please. So these are going to be our priorities, and it is dynamic, and we may include more depending upon situation or requirement or suggestion from members. I would like to draw your kind attention for reaching local initiative, which we are promoting. So wherever we feel that our members are more comfortable in their own language, We encourage them to organize programs in their language, and I'm happy to share that many countries of Region 10 are taking benefit from this initiative and organizing programs in their local language. For more details, if you are really interested to organize program in your own language, you can contact Region 10 Educational Activities Committee. And this is the initiative which I think you should take to your advantage. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we have expressed our thoughts and intend to do some more value addition in our activities. I would like to draw your kind attention about our philosophy in Region 10, and that is member value creation. So let our programs create value to address member recruitment and member retention. And I strongly believe that if we organize programs keeping members in mind, more members will join and stay in IEEE. So this is the way for sustainable growth. So because IEEE is member-centric and volunteer-led organization. Next slide, please. So IEEE is basically for technology, and most of us are here to be current with the technological advancement which is happening around us. And IEEE is a great source of authentic information on such developments. But IEEE also provides unparalleled networking opportunities and leadership opportunities. So this chart shows how IEEE provides opportunities right from a student member in various leadership roles and how they gain experience in their journey from students to a full working professionals and also enjoy and learn in various volunteering roles. Next slide. I think this is going to be my last slide. So there are some major new initiatives taken by our various committees, and committee members are continuously innovating and reinventing new programs and activities. All these are notified using e-notice to sections and members. I encourage that our members should come forward and participate and make use of such opportunities. I always say that IEEE provides you a lot of opportunities, but IEEE also provides you opportunity to create opportunities, and that has been exhibited by our committee chairs of Region 10. And so we have also revamped our newsletter. It is with new name and new look, and please contribute and share your events and best practices in the newsletter. Next slide. So with this, I conclude, and I thank Nirmal and his team for organizing TENCON despite having lots of challenges. Congratulations and all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak ji, for that wonderful note, and thank you for your best wishes. We have started getting questions in the question poll, so that's a good thing to note. So if you could bring Deepak as well onto the feed, that would be appreciated, because this top question, I think it is for him, which is, what is the expectation from the young IEEE professionals? It's asked by someone, ARC, Ieee, I don't know, maybe it's an acronym, but you want to take a stab at that very quickly, Deepak ji?
So that's a very good question, and that I think that should be in the mind of each and every young professional and students, I will say that. So IEEE has got very rich resources, and probably I have seen that we are really not aware of, because even I, at this stage, whenever I explore IEEE.org, I find each and everything, many times the new things, and that amazes me. So IEEE, and then young professionals and students, they should visit IEEE.org. They should find what are the resources that will be good for their professional career, for the students, for their studies, and customize or make your IEEE membership accordingly. Join that society, join that program, and create opportunities for yourself. What I mean by creating opportunities, organize program accordingly. For example, if you are interested in advancement in the embedded system, and that is not in your curriculum, that is not part of your activity, then you create opportunities, you organize program in that particular area, invite the experts from IEEE, which is one of the great resource of IEEE. So take as much as benefit from IEEE resources are possible, and then you, if you volunteer, then then you have got enormous opportunity of networking and leadership.
Thank you for that. And I think we have other questions as well. There are about 4 or 5 of them, but I think it's much more for the next plenary session. Some people might, it's the cyber sessions and things like that. I don't see anything one specifically for you, but any last word of encouragement to other conference committees and things like that? You have had a lot of experiences now with all these different conferences and so on. So any thoughts on, what is the future of conferencing going ahead? Would it going to be fully, the last couple of years, it has been fully online and blended and physical. What are your thoughts? You must have attended a lot of these online conferences in the last couple of years, but is this here to stay, or once this opens up, we won't want to go more towards the live part of that conference?
So it's a very tough question. I don't think anybody can answer this question because things are so uncertain and things are very dynamic. I had been to many of the in-person events recently, but the only thing is that I always say that I will be taking decision close to the date, because things are changing very fast. And for TENCON 2021, this TENCON, we were planning we were sure that we will be having this in person. Then suddenly we thought it will not be in person, then it will be hybrid, and how we have come to the virtual. So it is very difficult, but I am sure that this pandemic has given a lot of lesson, and we have truly become global. So even our local events, the participation is global. We are getting good experts, and which was otherwise not possible. Rather, it was possible, but our mindset or mental block was there. So I'll not be able to comment on the future of online or hybrid or fully in person. But I'm very optimistic that future is going to be bright.
Thank you for that. So I wish to thank on behalf of everyone else, for your kind opening of this notice, and I wish all the best of health and spirit, and hopefully we will be able to host you. We would have definitely wanted to host you here when you came here for our executive meeting. I think it was last January, right? And that was the last event. I think it was in Queenstown. And then yes, and on your way off, you came to Auckland for a couple of days, and then I think the ACB, our supporting partners in this one, took you to Waiheke Islands, I believe, and I wasn't there. I had left to the US, and that was my last conference. I came back and you left, and those are still in our memories. So we wanted to host you and your family here but maybe next time around, or for the next conference or whatever. So I wish you all the very best, and thanks for that. And
Nirmal, along with you, I would like to thank Kate, Lakshita, and Tech, because I'm able to see them, and all others who are associated with this conference. I know that with this changing decision from in-person to hybrid to virtual, they might have struggled a lot, and they are bringing a very good conference. So congratulations and thank you very much.
Thanks, Deepak. So that's fine. So ladies and gentlemen who are watching now, it's my pleasure to get into the technical session of this part. So the opening is over. So IEEE is known for its knowledge base and the high value of its peer review. And this is a highly peer-reviewed technical conference. So I invite Professor Peik Lee, who is our vice chair and who has been leading the part on the technical activities for us. So over to you, Peik.
Hi, thanks, Nirmal. And I don't know what to say. Good morning, afternoon, or evenings, or night. I think it is a tough year. I think on behalf of the technical committee, I would like to apologize for all the delays that's happening in terms of the review outcomes, because a lot of uncertainties is happening, you heard from Nirmal as well as Deepak, that we were changing, from face to face all the way to virtual at the end. And on top of that, we were having like 250, more or less around that number of papers. We have to make sure all the papers are reviewed properly. So we have to assign at least 2 reviewers for each paper. So it took a long time to get all the things done. But thank God, everything is good. I have to thanks all the reviewers that has been worked very hard to get all the things done in a timely manner. And at the end, we have around 180 papers accepted. Now, we have to, make it somehow when we try to come up with a technical program, we can't go by the topics or the themes. I think, as Nirmal has alluded earlier, we want to make sure everybody have a chance to be present in the technical session, even though we are having the pre-recorded presentation. Okay, this is one of the requirements. You need to be present for the Q&A, otherwise you'll be deemed to be no-show and your paper will not be published in iExplorer. So that's why, we accommodate to that, we are designing or the technical session in the times that are convenient for everybody's. Okay, so make sure that you don't have to wake up in the middle of the night or wake up in the too early in the mornings kind of stuff. So make sure that you have a chance to be there. So be there with presence. So we have decided to have 18 parallel sessions, and it's going to start as later on around 4 or 4:30, something like that, local times. So it is really hard to do, but at least it's been done. So we have to thank all the reviewers and all the technical committees members to get the whole things done and the program running. And I think that's what I have. Thank you very much, and all the best. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of the weeks, and see you in the VOVA, whatever you call that. Back to you, Nirmal.
Thanks, Dick, for leading that part of the show. I know it's a thankless job, and even the session we had to manage. So it was because in the last couple of years, people in my house have got bored of me because they say, "Oh, what is happening here?" and conference, and to sit through 15 minutes of presentations and things like that. So thanks, Dick, for taking that brave decision to request all the people to have just 8-minute videos. I think that was an innovation, just because I think engineers need to communicate as well, right? So I think that was a good elevator pitch. So we had to do a lot of those background processing to make it seamless, because as was mentioned by Take, they were about from 22 countries in different time zones, and we don't know how that is going to work. But at least at the end, we got all of them through, and all the videos are sorted out, and the technical session would begin immediately after about 4 or 5 minutes after the session is over, which is at 4 o'clock and our time, and everyone will be gearing towards that. In the meantime, I've had a couple of other questions. This is for Deepak ji, but later on we don't have time for that. But this is an interesting question by Professor Ani Gole. He's from Canada, and I think it must be, So I'll just read it out, Deepak ji, just for your information, and I'll connect with you later on. He says, I'm a member of Study Committee 4, which advises the IEEE Power and Energy Society Board on conferences, publications, and meetings. We are interested in organizing local language courses around the world in TES interest areas. We would be happy to learn from the Region 10 experience. So already what you told, is doing this. So this is another part of the family, the IEEE Power and Energy Society. You'll hear a little bit about that, because Kate is the PES chapter chair for IEEE PES New Zealand North, and she's also in the IEEE section board. So Kate will pick this up, and hopefully And Professor Gole, I think Kate will connect you with Deepak, and then we can make those connections later on. So I just wanted to see that that question sorted out as well. So I think 3:10, but that's fantastic time for us to close. We are 5 minutes early, but hey, we have an exciting panel. And I will pass it on to, I think, Lakshita, you are the master of ceremonies. So otherwise I'll keep on talking. So I think I've got the wrap from Lakshita. So I'm off, but I'll come back towards the end, I believe, to just give a vote of thanks at about 3:55. So over to you, Lakshita.
Thank you, Dr. Luna, for setting up this stage, and Dr. Lee for telling us the statistic and the detail of technical session. And special thanks to IEEE Region 10 Director Deepak Mathur. I must say a lot of attendees must be really interested to know what the benefits from IEEE. So moving on to the next plenary discussion we have, it will be moderated by Kate Murphy, who is the industry chair for this conference. So I would like to invite to come forward Kate and to start the plenary discussion. Kate, over to you.
Thank you, Lakshita. Well, there is a growing industry concern with the introduction of Information 4.0 and Society 5.0 innovations. And that concern is that cybersecurity threats will increase in operational technology environments. With COVID-19, cybersecurity threats likelihood has also increased and its impact materialized. So today we are bringing an exciting panel of cybersecurity expertise from our critical infrastructure and operational technology environments in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And they will work through how they've been conquering these hazards and their strategy moving forward, the practices they propose, and the benefits that they are realizing to help support our digital agenda. Throughout the discussion, I encourage attendees, please post questions in the chat and vote for your favorite questions. It will really help me. Feel free to be direct to our panelists, but I will try to engage everyone as we go and throughout this session. So our panelists, you'll find their detailed bios in the conference handbook, which is found on our website. So now, I'm not going to waste any more time, introducing in speaking order, Abhinav Chopra, Technology Advisor to the retired Honorary Helen Clark, Bojraj Palmer, Head of Mandiant Consulting New Zealand, and Peter Jackson, Expert Advisor and Virtual Chief Information Security Officer to several critical infrastructure companies. I'm going to give them 3 minutes each to briefly introduce themselves, their profession, and the cyber areas that they are passionate about before we follow with a Q&A discussion. So over to you, Abhinav.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks a lot, and kia ora, everyone. This means welcome. We don't know which time zone you are in. So thank you, Kate. Yep. I'm Abhinav, and I have worked in a number of sectors, leading from power, water, telecom, councils, infrastructure. And I've been fortunate to learn a lot of things in these areas and help our local community. It is hard to at times believe that there are simple things which were left unattended, or there were simple areas that everybody would have fixed, or there were some of those things were so common that people believe common sense should have been utilized. But still, there is a cascading impact of every decision that we take, and every small decision that we make defines our proactive security and our reactive security methods, and causes kind of holes in our defenses. And one fine day, all the holes align together, and the disaster strikes. So that's what I've kind of learned in over the years of my experience while working in cybersecurity and cyber physical security areas. Now I'd like to pass it over to Peter to introduce himself and tell us something about him.
Yeah, thanks, Abhinav. My name is Peter Jackson, and as already stated there, I'm the engineering manager for cyber over at SGS ECL. I look after OT security engineers and consultants in our practice, and we look after again, a number of different industry verticals across manufacturing, oil and gas, energy, electricity, water, wastewater, rail, and pharmaceutical. I'm really privileged and pleased to be invited onto the IEEE. My background includes a Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics, and so certainly IEEE people are my people, and really pleased to be able to come here and kind of share from my experience, both in work with SGS ECL. I'm also a SANS instructor. I teach the ICS 515 in the APAC region for active defence and incident response. And I think, again, one of the key lessons learned, as Abhinav talked about, how the Swiss cheese, those things can line up. And further to that, how as our industrial organisations have eroded this air gap, have eroded this isolation, have eroded all the protections and the preventions around connectivity to serve, as Kate mentioned, the digitisation, to serve all these 21st century ideals, we haven't had the compensating controls come in place to ensure that our risks are being managed effectively. And so as our protect function from a NIST cybersecurity perspective comes down, we really need to make sure that all of our organisations, be it low, medium, high maturity, small, medium and large enterprise, have got all the right levels of risk management in place, have got all the right security controls in place. They establish and architect defensible networks, and then they have the right cybersecurity professionals to come and defend those networks. So I think that's a big thing for me, making sure that we've got things on both sides of the bow tie, across kind of our risk matrix, across identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. I think that's where we're at as an industry, as especially we drive towards more connectivity, more capabilities, and the use of that data as currency. Over to you, Bajraj.
Thank you, Peter. So similar to Abhinav and Peter, I've been involved in the industry for over 20 years. My last 13 years have been fully focused on cybersecurity, mainly in critical national infrastructure, that meaning energy, water, transportation, manufacturing, and other critical services. Also been involved in nonprofit finance and cloud native startups, mainly from design and operation of security controls, but also looking at its strategic effectiveness. I'm passionate about improving cybersecurity for industrial control systems. So I've been working with industrial control system operators and owners for the last 5 years. Quite a lot of learning has been gathered in that space, and also a lot of nuances around where industry is headed. I've lived and worked in India, Israel, Spain, Australia, and New Zealand. My ICS journey, or industrial control systems and OT security, but general cybersecurity journey, started in Israel. I've worked in water, building management, and physical security systems there. Currently, I'm leading consulting services for Mandiant in New Zealand, helping in establishing local presence, but more importantly, assisting impactful organizations that are doing people services, offering people services, to look at cybersecurity as a strategic capability, not just whacking the mole approach kind of cybersecurity where a problem has risen and you respond to it as a solution. So in my opinion, or in my observation and professional experience, what I've seen is that we need to improve our approach for cybersecurity from technical deployments, or just talking about what can't happen. So cybersecurity professionals need to become, instead of crushers of dreams or sayer of no's, to enablers of innovation, which means thinking like what Peter was saying, designing compensating controls where security is not built into the product, but also the onus is on product managers where from the inception of an idea and development of a product, for the development of a product, cybersecurity should become a thought. It shouldn't be, let's make it work first, we'll secure it later, which is an approach that is primarily driving revenue and go to market faster for a lot of organizations and causing a lot of trouble. We'll discuss further anything else, but yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you. Yeah, I see a lot of synergies with my own industry. How do you turn reactive into proactive? It is a big challenge. So now I'm going to ask a few questions, getting to the exciting part. People, if you've got the Wova app open, please vote for your question that you want me to ask and add as many as you like. So first of all, IEEE is a wide organization and has both engineers from business environments and mostly from operational environments. How do you think a cyber incident can impact them? So I'm going to start with Bojraj on that one.
So we've seen different categories of threat actors active in the industry. Threat intelligence is what we lead with as an organization. We're responding to 200,000 hours of incidents in a yearly basis. With that, what we notice is that there are 4 major categories of threat actors. One is a state-sponsored threat actor. Another one is a financially motivated threat actor. And then there are just activists who are working towards a social group or a social cause. And there are disinformation campaigns, which have become quite frequent in the last couple of years. In my opinion, with Ieee, with the reputation, with the kind of innovation that carries on and the discourse that goes on within Ieee, threat actors who are after knowledge that is innovative and future-facing when it comes to creating strategies for infrastructures or innovative ideas that can improve automation, will be very interested, which is theft of IP. Nation-based threat actors are quite interested in that. Also, reputation is important for IEEE, right? A lot of threat actors who may have social causes can also impact. And the impact is really realized in a way where information is spread that is not true, or defacements of websites happen. We've seen the examples of ransomware as well. So what I would say is IEEE or any other organization that is really raising the bar of innovation is not immune to any of these threat actor groups, but most likely is targeted by the nation state, by the financially motivated threat actor groups.
Thank you. And Peter, do you have anything to comment on that question?
Yeah, I agree with Bojraj's comments there. Again, where we look at the operational environment and especially industrial organisations, especially this new OT thing. I remember getting up and speaking at a conference recently and asking who had heard the term OT, and pretty much all the hands went up. This is a post-colonial age that we live in, but the understanding of what the O and the T mean and what it means to organisations and their businesses. Again, if we look at colonial as an example, the industrial environment, the infrastructure that runs the pipelines over in the States there wasn't directly impacted, but the corporate enterprise and the ability to direct and operate those pipelines from a business perspective was. And so if we look at those business environments and we look at those of us in that IEEE kind of electronics and electrical engineering space, how we feed into that and understanding the different causes at play, the different things that can fail. And again, quite often we're pretty good at designing around failures that are inadvertent, but where we come into this and we get, as Bojraj said, the threat actors and the adversaries that are upping their game more and more targeting critical infrastructure and non-critical infrastructure. They are learning more and more about PLCs and SCADA and DCS, and they are impacting and realizing that OT is a target. And so I think making sure that our defenders and our organizations keep upping their defenses and understanding their risk posture as it changes over time is incredibly important. And developing that resilience, again, the topic of our conference here is secure and resilient. So not just how does it stand up from something that's pretty a low-level threat, but how can it respond in the face of a targeted campaign?
Yeah, and I think I can concur from there. Most of the things Bojraj and Peter already discussed. I do believe there's quite an impact directly on end user as well. Like if you're talking about impacts, what can happen if your water system gets hacked and they increase the chloride content of your water just by, because in most of the cases they use chlorine to filter to make your water drinkable and pass it through larger pipes. Is a small thing for them to do to increase the levels. Or what happens when your Auckland transport gets hacked and they change the driving schedules or something? How many people are gonna wait at your bus stops? What happens when they do something to the cranes at your ports or airports or somewhere else? Will you get your cargo in time for your Christmas? can someone drop a container on a person walking below it? What are the things that can happen when you connect these systems, which are accessible not just from within the building? They can be hacked from anywhere else in the world. Even if you get to know them, your government may not be allowed to even catch them. There are, as Bhojraj mentioned about state actors, there are actors which Mendy and his company has exposed. They've kind of labeled some of the countries directly and said, you have attacked these in this way. We can see there was an attack on Ukrainian power system some time ago, and that can cause a huge outage, and possibly that outage will take away a lot of business for the whole day, and a direct impact to your economy, but also to people as well. So those small incidences, how they're interconnected, they can just change the way. And some of those things, as earlier Peter mentioned, there are some things which could have been protected just by being proactive while you are designing these things, or while you are doing these things up front, and so that they are resilient and they are secure. And when they're attacked, there is a method which we already know that can kind of be implemented straight away. There's a term called as run sheets, and response plans that can be activated. So there are things which, if you do when you are creating these things, they help you be more secure and resilient. So yeah, thanks.
Actually, that example you refer to with the water treatment plant and the chlorine, I remember reading about that. And the first thing that went through my mind is, why did the system allow someone to put in a value hundreds or thousands of times above what it should be? So it shows how important design is, rather than, the fact that it was hacked.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was the Florida water system which was attacked recently, and so there are obviously multi-layer methods, which we were first referred to as Peter by Swiss cheese. So you have different methods going all together, and so it did get stopped because someone else noticed it at that point in time. But yeah, your observation itself, like, why would you allow it to be 100 times the value itself? For which use cases, and why weren't those use cases blocked off when it was in production environment? Those questions are really nice, and we should ask them often. Yes, thanks, guys.
Thanks. So I've got the top one so far in the Wova app, and I'm going to ask it to Peter first. So imagine a future where essential 24/7 services can be managed from anywhere through new digital technologies. For example, a virtual electricity network control room. What does this look like, and what does industry need to enable this?
Yeah, thanks, Kate.
You've replied in the app. Sorry.
I have replied in the app. Of course, yeah, no, again, kind of building on that reply that I've put there, we can be really secure if we consider that security as a disabler. I think Bhojraj mentioned that as well, that we're turning everything off, we're disconnecting everything, where if you power down a server, it's obviously going to be pretty secure. Now, that doesn't really enable the business very well. And so we really need to drive towards that business as enabler. I think one of the best examples I've seen is an organization, quite a large, more mature one, albeit, but their business strategy is all around how they use digitization, and kind of your examples there of a virtual control room is kind of right up their alley in terms of their drivers as a business and their direction of travel. From their security team, their security strategy aligns directly to that. All of these things that they want to achieve as a business and as a company that improve the capabilities of the business, but also expose it to more security risk. Their security team says, this is how we're going to achieve that. This is how we're going to secure that. This is how we're going to defend that. This is how we're going to support the needs of our business and be that security as an enabler. And whether it's a virtual network control room, SCADA in the cloud, digitize this, IoT that, whatever we do as security professionals really needs to be focused on that. And again, coming back to Oldsmar and the Florida situation, making sure that we've got the right level of controls for the business as well, because of course that's just a small water utility in Florida. They're not going to be able to have the same controls in place as maybe our larger organizations. So having that right risk management and approach, I think, is incredibly important.
Thanks. And Bojraj, your thoughts?
I think I resonate with Peter. I haven't seen the answer on that. Apologies, but I might repeat some of the points because of that. I do feel like we need to accept that the days of feeling secure when you have the best firewall and the best antivirus solution are gone. Because those are not deterrents to any of the threat actors, especially advanced threat actors. They don't even use malware these days. They just use PowerShell scripts. And even better, they encode them so they can't be detected. So what does that mean? That means that we need to look at the need for remote work or the automation and innovation and not relying on physical presence versus what innovative activities need to happen. I think there is some place there for a trust-based design, or what they call it, a zero trust architecture, right? Where every action can only be performed when there have been multiple validations of who it is being performed by, like your question, Kate. I like that. Why did the system allow someone to increase a value like that by 1,000 folds in a water system, right? So this is where security mindset needs to come into play when products are being designed, but also processes. We haven't started thinking about cybersecurity like health and safety yet. And I think in operation technology and industrial control systems environments, that needs to evolve fairly quickly because tools, processes, policies, and how people work, all of that needs to come together, similar to what we do with health and safety, to be better prepared for as an answer to that question.
I actually covered that a little bit in another question, Bojraj, that mindset that all of our industrial organizations have gone through with safety. Yep. That it used to be they didn't care about safety, and then it was a tick box exercise, and then they pointed to health and safety department as responsible for safety. And I think most modern organizations, again, potentially most of them across APAC as well, have that understanding that the health and safety department have a role to play, but so does every individual person, and everybody needs to understand how they contribute to the safety of themselves and others. And if we can really leverage that when we talk to people that have been through that journey, and if earlier in the phase for security, actually, this is how you build security and by design to your processes. And you don't have, this is what we do in security, we have, this is what we do securely. Just like we don't have, this is what we do safety, this is what we do safely.
And I would just add to that last point, sorry about that, is that with digital world, with cybersecurity, we have an advantage which we haven't really exploited in the best possible way, and that is automation. Automation right now in cybersecurity, generally in the industry, is being sold as machine learning and AI-based next generation solutions. All these buzzwords are being thrown around. But personally, I feel like we haven't really scratched the surface of automation to alleviate the tedious tasks from humans who are missing the detections of these behavioral anomalies. And that's the key. Once we start using technology in the right way to start automating things, automation in other fields and innovation in other fields, remote work and other areas will become more of a possibility. But I guess the vendors or the security product makers need to realize that.
I kind of agree and disagree to this in the sense, right? I really like the way you talked about touching with the processes and people as well. And then, it's a gradual maturity level. And once I think I was having some chat with Peter, and Peter suggested about, having simple controls starting with CIS and then, going towards some ISA 99 kind of procedures, and then further on automation and stuff. Until and unless you haven't built that appetite, it will be hard to absorb. I've also seen, when we are teaching people about information security around, and then we only talk about the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, availability. We never talk about operational environments, and we never say, hey, there's one more bit called as health and safety of a human being. And so that's your fourth pillar as soon as you go into operational technology. And you would want to lose confidentiality to make sure, your systems are performing. Then you are ready to lose your integrity, and then you would want to lose availability only if someone is about to get hurt. in operational systems, right? So that is your fourth pillar, which is hardly talked about when we kind of have these kind of sessions. And then I've seen there is a different attitude in operational technology as well. Like, we know the best and we will only look at the system, what we're designing. And somehow they forget how the system will then be put in an environment which they never thought about, kind of. And that environment will be the people and processes. And what happens if you actually have a system which is highly secure, but it's right outside of your company and sitting on a rack, which can topple anytime, right? So that was like a very naive example, but yeah, something on that sort, right? Like, so you really want your people and your processes to work well and have a thought of design which says, okay, with these people and these processes, I will be able to secure for these use cases. And so those use cases need to be really brainstormed upfront and being available. And where we see, okay, we don't really have people, then what do we do with these use cases? That is where I think the automation comes into picture. Hey guys, you don't have money to get one person to be on there all the time. Here are the scripts that you can buy off for XYZ amount, or here's the intrusion detection system, because it's still going to pop out some exceptions which cannot be automated. You still need someone or some process to then align and work to do the next steps. So it's not a silver bullet just buying a system and just doing your approach. So
yeah, I think kind of leveraging off that, and kind of Bajraj, you talked about automation and the use of technology to provide defensive capabilities. We teach again in the ICS 515 class for SAMs. We start with Stuxnet because again, it seems to be that one of those pillared events that happened. We know that the adversaries in that scenario worked over a multi-year campaign, probably hundreds of thousands of man hours to develop the capability and the malware to impact that organization. But as soon as you look under the hood and you look at the network forensics, you look at the host forensics, it stuck out like a sore thumb. So even in kind of this most sophisticated 4.0 days capability that impacted an operational environment was discoverable, was defensible, was detectable if the defenders in that organization were doing defense, had that active defense mindset. And I think if we come back to kind of your case about some of those more sophisticated threats that seek to do us harm, the adversaries that are out there that have the capability to evade those detections, I'm not saying Stuxnet wouldn't have happened, it would have looked differently because the adversaries designed their attacks to compensate for the defender's environment. So that's why we need to have that nice combination of automation, again, architecture and passive defense that gives us our defensive posture. And of course, that's relevant for corporate enterprise security as much as industrial OT. And then on top of that, we layer on that active defense and putting defenders into the environment, understanding the risks, understanding the gaps, understanding the vulnerabilities, the systems, not so much the endpoint vulnerabilities, because we know that a focus on that is not going to give us return on investment for a security dollar, but what are our system vulnerabilities and our system of system vulnerabilities? As Abhinav talked about how those different systems integrate with each other and where our adversaries might slip through the cracks if we haven't got a consolidated understanding of the bigger picture.
Yep. I think all those points they all need to be there in the right level before everything aligns together. So yes. So
back to you, Kate.
some part of that question.
Yeah. All right, Abhinav, I've got one for you to start with. You mentioned quite a few events there in your introduction. Is there any specific security event that has really stuck with you, and what have you learned from it?
Right. Yeah. We generally do not talk about the events that have happened in the environment that we've been involved directly, just because of sensitivity. And I don't think that Peter and Bojraj will talk about those much either. But yeah, like, the common ones that we all may have learned about was just Peter mentioning about Stuxnet. And then, yes, there have been some few attacks that have recently happened in New Zealand, like the Waikato DHB and others that we can kind of talk freely about and discuss things. And there is some which are mainly actually discovered, and Bhojraj may touch on those. But for me, the main one, as Peter talked about, the Stuxnet was actually the eye opener for most of us, and we all have started to kind of dissect it in different manners, and how Stuxnet could have been stopped, or what are the things which, for example, throwing the USBs. Now we don't have to throw the USBs; we email people, and we do a phishing attack, and then we find out. Okay, that person, what is his demographics, and whether he's more likely to click it or not, and how do we extract at least 2 or 3 credentials, and then how do we so this is quite an effort, right? This is a full-time person being paid to do all these things, and they actually have clients and files. They actually wait for 2 or 3. It's a planned attack. It's for about 2 or 3 months that the activity goes on. First we would send an email. We would try to get those credentials up front, and then we would apply different attacks. Whether we want to do a time bomb attack, throw a ransomware in, it kind of, with the time bomb approach, it will burst after 2 or 3 months. We may already have access to some of your networks by then, and we are just waiting and watching who's the real person who will pay the ransom. And there are different scenarios which we learned from Stuxnet, like how do we poison the data to the terminals so that there is the activity is not recorded by the terminals. We do not really know whether the centrifuges are running at 1000 RPM or 10,000 RPM. So there are really good ways which came out of that Stuxnet attack, and that has really stuck with me quite some time. And it's one of the attacks that you can easily explain to a lot of people, and tell the massive destruction it could have caused. Yeah. What about you, Peter? Is something that has stuck with you?
Yeah, thanks, Abhinav. I think we do have this tendency as a community to not talk about the things that have impacted ourselves or others in the community and industrial organisations. And as a result, everybody thinks it doesn't happen because it hasn't happened to them and nobody talks about it. So I think we do need to make sure that we have that right balance between exposing all our dirty laundry, but also having those conversations around the fact that it does happen. I think some of the things that I encourage organisations to really think about is that certainly the boundary of the industrial network, whether that's a firewall on the edge of the corporate enterprise. Again, hopefully we've got some segmentation in place, and or any direct access into the industrial network through a cellular 3G modem, maybe a VPN to your service providers and trusted third parties. Those kind of boundary protections are where we want to make sure that people have good maturity, good understanding of risk, good monitoring, good detection. Because again, we know from a resilience perspective that our prevention and our protection elements can fail. And so having something on the other side of the bow tie, on the other side of the balance to detect, respond, and recover is incredibly important. So making sure we've got some of those things is incredibly important. But I think the most significant security incident, back to your question, Kate, is less about Stuxnet and more about Trisis. So Trisis happened in 2017, and the adversary in that specific event is still very active, and they compromised a safety system malware down to the firmware level. And the only reason that you want to do that for a petrochemical plant and an SIS, for those familiar with the term, is to kill people. And that adversary, as I said, is still very active, and we're really concerned about what they are doing specifically in the industrial space and the organisations that they've successfully targeted and compromised, potentially at a vendor level, but also the end users, owner operators across critical and non-critical infrastructure. And they're just one of many industrial targeted adversaries that are active in this space. And of course, we get some insights because that's the field that we work in and that we live in and we breathe. And Bhojraj and myself going out and supporting incident response. And I think that's what I really wanted the audience to be mindful of, that it does happen, and engaging in with the right people in your community, engaging across IT and OT, engaging around that threat intel space so that we understand the risk is incredibly important.
That probably made a lot of people gasp. I know it made myself gasp because it really is a health and safety concern. Do you have any comments on that one, Bojraj?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to just add on the TRICES, or what Mandiant called it as Triton. For me, that actually remains one of the most people impacting, safety impacting event in the recent history. Our teams were on site responding to this particular incident, and we learned a lot about this particular framework, which was created by this threat actor or a group of threat actors. Triton was not a simple, can be detected by an antivirus solution kind of malware. It utilized a lot of built-in functionalities of Windows, went into an environment, and created a lot of noise. Now that's the learning. The learning is there was noise. There was signs of presence of something that could be tagged as an anomaly. However, there is this gap of knowledge and understanding between IT and OT practitioners, right? And I call it practitioners as, we've got security operations centers, people who know inside out of what a Kubernetes cluster would do, how to analyze a large amount of data, how to deploy cloud environments using Terraform. And you talk all of what I just said in front of an OT engineer, they probably would not be able to understand what I just said, right? It's a matter of understanding each other's taxonomy. We need to start aligning our workforce in such a way that security becomes a common taxonomy, spoken in such a way that is understood in the same way by IT and OT. So going back to the Triton example, if the operator present on site really dug deeper into why the SIS controller failed 6 months prior to them having to shut down the facility, would have tried and digging a little bit deeper, and with the help of a security workforce, understood the problem. But it's a missed opportunity that just comes as a lesson with the hindsight that we have now. But again, just repeating the lesson is the understanding and awareness needs to be increased across multiple groups that hold on to a particular taxonomy or language. It needs to become a common language and needs to translate into people impact, especially in industrial control systems environment. And we need to actually stop our reliance just on tools. Tools provide a good level of comfort that we've spent $1 million into a security system, but that reliance shouldn't go as far as we're secure. It should still require a lot of manual work, which is at a people and process level, to fine tune, and then when something is detected, to understand its down impact. So yeah, those are the lessons, and Triton does remain to be an impactful recent incident for me.
Thank you. We have a few minutes left, so I'm going to ask one more question before we close this panel session. And this is the one at the top of the WOVA app. So to the panel, what is the current likelihood of threats, and can they materialize easily? So I'm going to start with Peter.
Yeah, I think the, again, kind of Bojraj in his introductory comments talked about the 4 different kind of threat actor group classifications that we see. The less sophisticated on that pyramid of pain have increased likelihood, but they have decreased consequence capabilities. And so they represent a risk part of the risk equation. And then all the way up to the top of the pyramid pain, where you've got a sophisticated, well-funded, potentially nation-state-backed adversary that has a lot of capabilities, but they're not going to waste time on a low likelihood or a low frequency event. They're looking for that kind of big high frequency. Sorry, they're not going to waste time on a high frequency event. They're going to do low frequency or low likelihood, but really high consequence. And so there's a full gambit of likelihoods in there. I think as defenders and for our owner operators, our industrial organizations, we actually have the capability to be one step ahead of our adversaries. We have the capability to understand our networks better than they do. We should understand our networks better than our adversaries. And so by doing that, understanding again, especially the boundary for industrial automation networks and similar, we decrease the likelihood, and it allows us to prevent those lower sophistication threats from Bojraj's example. So prevent and then detect the rest. So our goals as defenders should be prevent as much as we can and then detect the rest. And by doing that, we make sure that we're not low-hanging fruit, because we see especially low maturity organisations, smaller organisations being open to low-hanging fruit, Oldsmar being an example in the water industry. Again, the consequence of that was mitigated from the fact that water is a very slow-moving process. The ability to impact the water system is quite hard, because it takes another 48 hours before that overdosing can impact the community, and there's a few different controls in there. But making sure that we have got some good things in place around understanding our threat landscape, understanding those adversaries that seek to do us harm, and designing and defining our controls, and increasing that over time, because we know that adversaries are as well.
Thank you. And actually, I'm going to have to call this session to a close, because I do realize we are at time. But we all have access to the app if you're attending the conference. So any more
I think we might have just lost Kate, but on her behalf, again, thanks team for all your contributions and those Q&A. Please throw those in there. All three of us are going to be hanging around to keep an eye on the Q&A and the chat. So more than welcome to get your comments. And it looks like Kate's just come back. Welcome back, Kate.
Oh, I don't know how much you heard there, but
Oh, don't worry, Peter. Just took the best part of it. Yeah.
But, I think we're handing back to Nirmal now to close out the session. So over to you, Nirmal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back again. And thanks, Kate, for a fantastic industry chair session. It set the tone for definitely secure and resilient living. We still are left with a smarter and cleaner one. And that's why I thought, the session, we put it as around digital, what was it? Digital sanity or something like that. Digital hygiene. Yeah. So that, so I thought also, but I think all the three are cybersecurity professionals from the OT side. And I thought that neatly went into that particular one. And we thought hard about what we could do in the plenary keynote, which would be interesting and also lived up. So as you know, we are all locked up here in Auckland. So finally, we had this fantastic presentations over the last couple of years, because most of our people are now using, you know, all these digital tools and Zoom and things like that. So cyber has become a very big, important topic here. And so that is why we thought we'll bring in these professionals who are working on the operational technology side here. There's one another reason why we brought that, because Kate is the general chair. So she has won the bid to host eGrid 2022 next year. So I congratulate Kate on, you know, bringing one more of those technical conference next year. And it will be hosted by, it's also IEEE New Zealand North, but she's the PES chapter chair. So, and I think she was trying to scout for, you know, speakers for that session. And so that was the intent here. So watch out for those of you who could not come to New Zealand this last couple of years because of the posture, the defensive posture regarding pandemic, which New Zealand took. We are far off from the world, but we are a small place with small population, which we need to defend. And hopefully within the next 2 months or so, most of us would be double vaccinated. So that was the idea. But now with, as was mentioned by Deepak, we don't know what's going to happen with this Omicron version as we speak. But I think we have changed the plan to living with the pandemic now. For the last couple of years, it was prevention. So I think we are, we as a country are ready to move to the next step. So hopefully just watch out for that. I would like to thank a whole bunch of people for this session to set the tone. As you might have seen, I think we started with the mihi, which is customary of New Zealand conferences this year because of our bicultural roots as a nation, which is the Te Reo Maori, which is the language here. And so that was the welcoming space for us. And then I think we went to Lakshita. She did a fantastic host as a master of ceremony. She was managing all the shows here, how to run this and be friendlier to young audience like you. Most of you are students, so I think Some of us, we have lost sight of, how to be digitally more active. So I think this whole program was put together by her. And then we heard from Deepak ji about, what Region 10 is about. And in the last year, you might have seen how we pivoted fully onto the digital stream of Region 10, but we are still keeping the strategic direction around our region about increasing our capability, and about half of our, in the next 30 years, half of our population of younger people are in Asia Pacific region, and that kind of reflects on the IEEE part. But now we will have to be delivering solutions which are scalable, which I hope is what the next session is going to start. So we will be closing in a minute or so, but I would just want to tell you that in another 15 minutes or so, from 4:15 all the way through 10:30 p.m. our time, which is basically 6 hours, 15 minutes of conferencing. That we have kept a couple of breaks between 5:45 to 6:15 for people to go and have dinner here for us, and 8:15 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. for us, just a short break. But we are rushing through 66 pitches, 66 presentations, and in 8 minutes block. These are high quality papers, as Tate mentioned. So for those of you who are streaming late, who think, oh, I should attend this session or whatever, this is free. You enjoy this, but you want to have a discussion deep down into any of these topics, there is still time. You can go and get an online registration. It's only 150 New Zealand dollars, so it will be live. So just jump onto it. The technical session will start. 66 papers are there. These are all being considered for Best Paper Awards. So watch the space. For those of you who joined it free, think about IEEE. And as I mentioned, we will be visible now much more. And this is a good organization to join, and it's individual membership driven. So with that, I think I will close this conversation for now. So take a break for those of you who have been continuously watching. And we will start at 4:15. For the authors, make sure everything is okay. I heard some comment about audio not working, video not working, all that kind of stuff. So go to your Hua platform, go to community, click community. There's a whole bunch of community created, but go down to a community which is called as AV, capital A, capital V. Go there and ask the question. So someone from IT who is streaming this would get with you guys touch. They test it out, and you should be all good to go. You should be there for your 2 minutes to present. And I think Take, as the technical chair, has already told you, if you don't do it, no problem. Enjoy the conference, but the paper might not come into IEEE Explode. So it's absolutely necessary that you should have come there and defend your work. That's a part of IEEE. So you should put your video on, and we did not. There is no excuse here. You're all digitally. You're all electric. You are the smartest bunch in the whole world. If you can't control your video and things like that, I don't know who else can do, right? So I think it's a good thing. Enjoy the session, present it on behalf of all of us, and I wish you all the best. So I will come back on the closing session. Just a plug for the closing section, and we have some fantastic awards for the best paper across these 180 plus presentation which are going to go, and also there is a robotic competition. So just check that out if you want. So with that, let us close this session for now. Thank you for everyone, and thank you for this. And the conference has begun. TENCON 2021 Day 1 technical session will start in another 15 minutes. Thank you.